So this is the new workshop, guys. This is what I've been dreaming about for what feels like years at this point. And ever since I moved into this house, it's been 2 years. But before we start talking about what's in here, what I did, the renovations, why certain things are laid out like they are, I want to talk about what used to be in here and what involved getting all of that out. I'm also trying a new camera setup with a gimbal, and hopefully it's working out. It seems to be pretty good so far. I like it. Now, for those of you that remember from the earlier videos, this used to be a pretty standard garage. It has enough space for one car, and there's a little second story attic space that I've been using as a paint booth, but we'll go up there later. Now, from where I'm standing, I have the garage door here, and then on that far wall, there used to be 2 giant workbenches and a bunch of shelving and cabinets along the wall, and then this wall was pretty empty with some pegboard, and then in the back corner there, I had a half bathroom, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, it had a toilet and a sink in it. And hiding under the stairs over there was the pool pump system that was indoors, just because that's how they built it, and well, it's no longer there. Now, I don't have a lot of footage of the renovations actually happening. I do wish I had recorded more of that, but I do have a lot of old videos showing just how I had to make the space work for what I had at the time. Well, there used to be tons of printer shelves here, and I had them arranged in a certain way, and it felt cramped. Not to mention that it wasn't insulated. The walls were bare, so in the summer it got really, really hot, and in the winter it got so cold I actually couldn't use the printers. Some of you might even remember that I had to move a majority of the printer racks over there into a spare room into my house just so I could keep printing and building stuff through the winter. Now, I'm in North Carolina. It doesn't get that cold in the winter, but it was enough to cause thermal runaway issues on the printers, so I just couldn't use them. Now, obviously, I couldn't build this workshop from the ground up. That money and time and space just didn't allow for it, so I was still limited to the size of this garage. And that came with a really hard decision to get rid of that bathroom. Originally, the bathroom was put in there so people using the pool could come in here, they could use the bathroom, not track water into the house. It was more of just kind of a guest bathroom. However, in the time I had spent working out here, I only ever used it a couple times a year. It really wasn't getting the use it needed to, and since this was my workshop, when I had people over, I typically didn't really let them in here to use the bathroom because it was just too much of a hassle you get it. So right off the bat, 2 decisions were made here. The first was to get rid of the entire bathroom space over there, and that opened up pretty much this entire section where this printer rack is, all the way over to where the bottom of that step is. But we did decide to leave in a sink, a very deep sink here. This way I could wash prints and wet sand. This is absolutely already come in handy for just, rinsing things off. So that was opted to be left in. But the other question was the pool pump. Now, some of you might remember that the pump used to be here. We've gone and since moved it outside to behind the garage. However, there were some piping here, and what the contractors ended up doing was just raising this up and hiding the pipes underneath that and just shooting them out the back of the garage. This way we didn't need to dig up concrete, because if anybody knows how expensive that is, it's ridiculous. So we were able to just shoot the pipes out the back, rebuild the pool pump outside, and that also freed up a bunch of space for my air compressor, which we're going to talk about that later, and then just a couple more storage options. Now, I will say this general space over here isn't quite finished, but I don't think this workshop's ever going to be actually finished. And a lot of people online have been asking me about this whole build in general, so I figured just get this out here, and as I make little upgrades throughout the years, you guys are probably going to see that. I do still want to cover all of this up and hang props on it to make it kind of a hidden storage area, and that will also help me sound deaden the air compressor that's there, because that thing is rather loud, but it is strong and worth it. Now, just for the basics of any renovation and finishing a space like this is I wanted it insulated. I wanted to keep the cold air in and the hot air out, or vice versa when it comes to winter. I want to be able to work in here comfortably in the winter without freezing my butt off. Now, I was able to move stuff out and tear some stuff down, but when it comes to actually doing insulation and drywall and electrical, we did hire somebody to do that, and they did a fantastic job. This place came together super quick. But all of the walls, including the ceiling, are completely insulated, and they were even kind enough to ask me about my electrical needs. They added extra breakers to the fuse box. They added electrical sockets to certain spots to where I was going to have the shelving and the racks. They were actually really receptive in, what I wanted to be built. They even helped me install this super cool ceiling lighting, and I think that's what we're gonna talk about first. After all the renovations were done and the drywall was up, well, we had to put some lights in here. So yeah, let's take a look at that. One thing I am all about is convenience, and please ignore this little guy, don't worry about that, but I'm constantly leaving the lights on. So now the main power switch in here is actually just a motion switch. This way I can come and go, and it is on a timer. So as long as I walk in here, the lights will turn on, and then when I leave, after a few minutes, the lights will turn off. Now, I got this hexagon shop lighting on Amazon. I think it was about $600. And it's actually a lot bigger than I was expecting it to be. They even had to put electrical sockets in the ceilings. This way I could use the garage door opener and then have the lighting and working. But what's nice about it is the outer rim of the lights is on one circuit, but then the inner is on a completely separate. So I took a Wi-Fi socket, and I have a cool little app here that lets me control the garage door and the lights. So if I don't want it to be too bright in here, I can actually turn those lights on and off. And this looks great for filming. It makes it so much brighter in here, but sometimes it's a little overpowering, but I can cycle them on and off, which is great. And this way you can actually appreciate the other lighting in here, the Nanoleaf lines. And Nanoleaf actually sent these to me. They're the same people who sent me the logo that's in my studio upstairs, and I like the hexagon thing, so that's what I kind of rolled with. It was very fun doing a live stream and having the Discord help me figure out where I wanted to put everything. There was only one little mistake I made, but you don't got to worry about that. But yeah, these things are absolutely awesome. And like any Nanoleaf product, I can completely control the color and the flow and the lights, and I can just do a bunch of stuff with them. And in the dark, they looked super cool. I mean, just look at those. Look at those. Speaking of lights, you guys also might notice I have blackout curtains on both the main window and the window on the door because I have resin printers in here. I can't risk light leaking into the garage because that could very much impact some of the resin I have, and it could ruin a whole bottle or damage the printer if I'm not careful. So these are just some standard blackout curtains that are pretty much never going to get opened up ever again. I actually screwed them into the bottom so they can't. Well, we've looked up above, we've talked about the lighting. Now, what about the flooring? Initially, I was going to use just those standard foam interlocking puzzle pads, but the contractor said he could get his hands on this gym floor mat stuff. It's actually pretty thick, dense stuff, and it's great. It high impact. I've already dropped some stuff on it, and it works great. I can roll it up if I need to, if I ever need to clean out underneath it. Not that I'll ever need to, but I don't know the name of it, but it's the composite rubber stuff, and it's just nice. And I'm actually, I like this way more than those little puzzle interlocking pads. Okay, so the walls are done, everything's insulated, electrical is all good, we have lights, we have flooring. Now let's talk about the shelving and the workspace and the benches I have. I am very much a proponent of having the accessibility of tools I'm using more frequently than not, and that's what this entire board reflects. This is the stuff I'm using, almost every time I'm in the garage. I have my drills, I have my hammers, I have tape, I have all the little hand tools and zip ties and cutters and Bondo spot putty and screwdrivers and wrenches and ratchets. All the stuff that I'm more just typically using, aside from what's in the toolbox, I try to have on my workbench. For anybody wondering, these are metal pegboard shelves on Amazon. I do not remember how much they were. I have 2 whole sets of them. I guess I should have said that in the beginning of the video. Everything I'm talking about in this video that I can actually give to you guys in a link, I will do that down below. I can't do the flooring, but I can do the lighting. I can do the shelves, the pegboards, all of that type of stuff. And we're eventually gonna get to the printers, so I will definitely include all of that down below. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, go check it out. You don't need to buy it from the links. A lot of them are gonna be like Amazon affiliate links, but at least it gives you an idea of what you're looking for. As for the workbenches, these are some Cobalt workbenches from Lowe's. These fit perfectly. We did a lot of measuring between the 2 of them and then the toolbox and just what would fit, and I don't think it could have worked out any better, honestly. And then I have 2 little workbenches down here. I can pull these out. It's an extra little workspace, great little storage, just for the stuff that I'm not using as frequently. Let's talk about the toolbox, because this is something I've wanted, and I think every guy wants at one point, a giant toolbox for your garage. And I'm still rearranging things. That's why there's still, little painter's tape on the drawers, because I'm gonna make nice labels eventually. But I wanna use the drawers for like a year and just see what's convenient, move stuff around before I actually commit to printing out the labels. Now, I really wanted to get a toolbox with a hood for a very specific reason. Now, I haven't done it yet, but what I'm going to eventually do is put a little computer monitor in here, a little screen. This way I can bring my laptop out here, put it on the shelf and plug it in and slice files. And hopefully it'll also help me with doing live streams from the garage. This is a perfect spot to mount a monitor, and I just need to actually, you know, do it. But so don't judge me, but that is the plan and the intention of getting this hooded toolbox. And this way, if I'm sanding or doing anything with chemicals or dust, I can just close it up and not risk damaging the actual monitor. So I think that's gonna be a really cool idea, but that's something that'll come in the future. Also, they're not a sponsor for this video, but shout out to Shadow Foam for sending me a bunch of stuff for the toolbox. I have some foam I got to cut for like inlays and stuff. Yeah, they were in the UK and they're just cool people. So yeah, I definitely want to work with them a little bit more. Free plug. And finally, this is the secondary workbench. Honestly, I probably sit here more often than not. If you guys have seen the Mandalorian video, the Blue Beetle helmet build video, even the Demon Slayer swords, this is pretty much where I was working the whole time with having the camera in different angles. I don't use this stuff as often, but it is still nice to have it and just have the accessibility of it. I do have a couple more power tools down here, but it's more or less the same setup that's over there. So I think that's enough about the stuff you guys probably don't care too much about. So how about we talk about the thing a lot of you came to the video for, the printers, the printer setup, the racks, the wash and cure station, and just everything in the current arsenal. So first off, the shelving. This is a 5-tier shelf setup from Lowe's. I think Home Depot sells something around the same price. Each rack or each unit was about $150. I think they've gone up to like $190 now, and you can build them however you want, and they're perfect for printers. They're 28 inches deep, and the depth is important if you're talking about bed slinger printers, because you need to make sure the bed has enough room to travel far enough back, or else you're gonna have to hang it over the front like way too much. This is a problem I had with the giant printers I have, the Maxes and the M4s. That's why they're in the middle, and that's why that one's on the floor. Don't worry about that guy. However, these other shelves, some of you might recognize, these are actually the shelves that were on this wall originally. The benches that were over here. Turns out on Amazon, you can buy just legs for shelving. So I was able to convert these two benches, because this is really nice butcher's block. I was able to buy just the legs on caster wheels and screw them onto the wood and make actual mobile shelves. One thing I wanted to make sure of is that in the middle of the workshop, all of this stuff is removable. I can move the shelves to the side, I can push them out. It makes cleaning and rearranging things a lot easier. So I didn't need to go and buy super expensive shelves because I already had the butcher's block for these benches, and the printers fit great on them. Speaking of printers, let's talk about what's on the center rack, and then we'll talk about what's behind me. We have my FL Sun Super Racer and my FL Sun V400. I am not thrilled with this setup. Eventually what I'm gonna be doing is I need to get a shelf for the bottom of this bench, and I'm gonna move this big monstrosity underneath there, and then I'm gonna move the Super Racer and the V400 back over to that metal plate, and then I'll be able to move my CR10 Max back up to the top here. So I have 3 giant printers on this shelf, and then I'll have the V400 and Super Racer. And in case you guys are wondering what this is the Snapmaker all-in-one, doesn't do anything great, but it tries 3D printer thingy. They sent it to me a while ago. I literally still haven't used it. I think it's the A3000, I don't know. It's a 3D printer. It's a 3D printer, laser engraver, and CNC. So I'm gonna try to use it as a laser engraver and CNC because it's not like I need more 3D printers, but I wanna move the whole contraption down there. This way it frees up the shelf space. Here is my scrap filament bin. I'm still working on solutions for all of this. I literally have 6 boxes of failed prints and supports out in the shed. I've been saving it for 4 years, and hopefully somebody one day makes a really good cheap filament recycler, because I have all of it. Oh, actually, let's talk about this thing. This is my printer maintenance area. I have a quick little toolkit here that has all of the bare necessities for repairing your printers. And I've shown this in some videos. It has a couple extra springs and nozzles and couplers and more springs and just everything that I might need if a printer decides to act up. I can bring it over here, and it's gonna have almost all the tools or parts I'm gonna need to repair the printer. And then in the shelves, I just have more parts. I have my, googly eyes because they're important, more just extra tools, extra wires. So I just keep that all in one spot. This way it's always there for accessibility. And now the rest of the printer is behind me. This is a space that is going to ever be evolving as I continue down this whole YouTube thing. I literally just redid it by getting rid of my 4 Ender 5 Pluses that were at the end down there. Now they're replaced by my 4 CR10S Pro V2s. I've shifted them down. Now I have some Elegoos and some Sovels here, and here I have my high-speed printer setup. I'm actually really excited to continue getting more of these printers. I have my P1P, my K1 Max, my K1. Don't worry about the Anchormake M5, nobody likes you anyway. But I am pretty much just upgrading printers as the years go by. I'm obviously not running original CR10s. I got rid of my Ender 3s a while ago. Not because they're bad printers, just the technology's evolving. So this whole space is gonna be evolving the whole time. You can see I have all my filament laid out up here. Some of it's open, some of it's not. It's PLA. I don't dry out my filaments. They work just fine. If this was PETG or something like that, or nylons, obviously I would have to be a little more careful with them, but PLA's fine. During the renovations themselves, behind each printer rack, I had an electrical socket put basically almost in the center, and they are all run, I believe, 1, 3, and 5 are on one circuit, 2, 4, and 6 are on another circuit, and they beefed up the amperage in the fuse box. Make sure you have an actual electrician do that and don't just guess. This way I can run multiple printers at the same time. One thing I have learned in a couple of years of doing this, if I was to just go and power up, I don't know, say all 4 of my Pro V2s over there, if I turn them all on and start preheating all 4 at the same time, I could probably blow a breaker, which the breaker is meant to do that, if you know, so you don't burn anything down. But if I power them up slowly, if I preheat one and then I preheat another and I preheat another, I can have all 4 running. Your printer is gonna pull the most power while it's preheating. So if you take your time and spread them out while you're preheating them, usually you can get away with having more on a circuit than you otherwise would is if you just flip them all on at the same time. So definitely keep that in mind. But also make sure you're not constantly popping a breaker, because if you are, then there might be some other problems, or you're just overloading the circuit. One thing I also did is took some magnetic bars from Harbor Freight, and I just have all the basic tools just kind of sitting here next to each printer. This way, if I have to do maintenance, I don't have to run around or pull them out of a toolbox. I just have a couple setups of them, just, you know, for ease of accessibility. And down below here, I still got to do some cable management, but I have some surge protectors here with actual fused surge protectors. Make sure you actually get one with a fuse. Some people make that mistake where they'll get a splitter, they'll get a power strip, but it doesn't actually have surge protection on it. So make sure you're getting the right one, because it'd be a shame if all my printers fried because of a lightning strike or something. So I have one over there, and I still need to set up the other one over here. And then the resin printers have a large power strip, and then I have another strip ran here to power the island of printers. Now, resin printers are pretty easy to set up. They only take up the space that you know, they're not moving, right? But you do need a wash and cure station to accompany resin printing, and obviously this is a garage, it's a ventilated area. I have AC circulation, a humidifier. Some of these even have built-in filtration, which is great. But let's talk about the wash and cure station and why I made some of the choices I did. This is a setup I really honed in on over the past 2 years of having the resin printing station in the garage, and now it just has a more solid place here. Obviously I have all my resins up there, and make sure you're paying attention to the expiration dates on those. I just had to throw a lot out because I'm kind of dumb. I have a rag, just a couple shop rags here because you're going to be going through a lot of those. I have some nylon nitrile gloves because you need that type of protection. I have my paint strainers and filters. I also got those from Harbor Freight. I have a little backlog of isopropyl alcohol, some extra strainers, some extra tools, some extra screens, just all the stuff you're going to typically use. Now, when it comes to the actual wash and cure station, I have this AnyCubic Wash and Cure Plus. I actually went and cut it apart and modified it because I couldn't lift the hood up and down because of the shelving. So I made a little hinged door in the front because that's just what the space required, and do whatever you will with that information. Then I just have pretty standard stuff here. I put a trash bag over the MDF board so it doesn't get ruined. I have a Wham Bam silicone mat. You can actually use, I believe they're dog bowl mats. That's what this is. This isn't for resin printing. It's for like putting your dog's food and water on, and it's the same type of silicone. So if you spill resin on it, you can just clean it off or bring it, focus. There we go. You can just bring it outside and let the resin harden up, and then just peel it off. So I just have the basic standard stuff. I have a bottle of ISO. I have the actual wash part of the wash and cure. I have a paint strainer holder, and then this thing is great for resin printing. Uncle Jesse had turned me onto this, just a big syringe for pulling resin out of the vat, which is great. And then I have a couple just random tools that I still need to hang on the wall for accessibility. I don't know why my Focus is doing that, but whatever, we're here now. Having an easy and convenient wash and cure station absolutely makes resin printing go a lot quicker and smoother, because it's one of the most troublesome parts of resin printing is not only getting the print off, but just being able to wash and cure and process it as fast as possible. Now, the last thing I want to talk about down here is the AC and heating circulation system. Obviously, this is a large area. If I was running all of the resin printers at once, it might start to stink up a little bit. I do want to get an air purifier system, but this is a double split heating and cooling double pump unit. There's a big unit outside that's doing all the air conditioning, but this thing is great. It doesn't have any type of filtration system on it though. And then I have a dehumidifier right here. I still need to plumb it into the actual plumbing of the garage, because right now I have to empty the tank, but there is an option to put a little hose on it, so it's constantly running. I might actually mount it on the wall and just have it drip into the sink. This way I never have to worry about any type of mold growth in here. I did have a small mold outbreak a few weeks ago on some of the MDF boards because I lost power and the AC went out, and then you know that's how mold grows. So now we're good and clean, and it feels great in here. But yeah, I think I might get a nice little air purifier to have near the resin printers, but so far I haven't had any issues. And if I really need to air the place out, I can still open the garage door, turn a fan on, and blow everything out. Oh, and I guess before we wrap all this up, we should talk about upstairs, the paint booth. Now, I am going to put some type of trap door here. Right now, it's just a piece of sheetrock. Oh, I got to turn the light on, don't I? Yeah, it's just a piece of sheetrock keeping the AC in here. But if we go up and push this up with my head and don't crush myself, oh my God, wow, it's warm up here. The camera immediately fogged up, so we're gonna have to let that equalize. Okay, that's better. So this is the paint booth, and no camera angle is gonna do it justice, unfortunately. So I'm gonna turn the camera around, kind of point things out as we go along. I don't wanna stay up here too long, it's warm. So immediately when you come up, you'll see that this is where I keep all my paints, my various spray paints and a couple extra tools. I have them organized pretty nicely between primers and clear coats up here, all of my colors, and then I have a lot of the metallics and metal casts down here, just varying through projects. I keep a certain stock of Iron Man related colors, but the other ones I just collect as I do other projects. And then over here on the other side is more of a storage area. I have some extra foam. I have a little container unit that I keep like my respirator mask in and my HVLP gun. I still need to set up the air hose that comes up here from the compressor, but this is where I've been doing a little bit of my sanding recently. I just have more storage over here. Nothing really, nothing too impressive. Don't really worry about that stuff. But then the paint booth itself is a whole tarp system with some filtration to let air in. And then it's hard to see, but I have a ventilation fan back there that ducts air through there. And then you can see the tube that goes all the way through the entire paint booth. And then I usually have filters on here. I just took those ones off, but it tracks along the entire back to pull air through these filters, and then it brings the air through. They get sucked down that hose, and then the fumes go away. I do need to do a vacuuming up here. Obviously, it's not a perfect system, so there is gonna be dust particles, so you do wanna keep this type of stuff clean. I might need to upgrade the CFM of that fan. This way it pulls more air through, but it's just pretty standard tarp systems, and I just was lucky enough to have this type of space up here in order to utilize it. I have a couple different shelving systems. I have some Lazy Susans to spin, parts around. I have some extra caps and cans to rest parts on. So it just goes with the efficiency of it. I have a whole light system, light bars. These are way longer than I thought they were gonna be, but each one of them is individually controlled, so I don't have to have all of them on at the same time, and I can separate the chambers. So I am starting to get really, really hot and sweaty up here. So we're gonna pop back downstairs. Whew, and these stairs are treacherous. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. I have a CR30 on the wall because where else would you put a belt printer? Yeah, it works. Oh my God. It got way hotter in that attic than I thought it was gonna be. That's pretty much gonna do it for this, guys. There isn't much more to show you. Obviously, you aren't gonna be able to perfectly recreate this exact setup because everybody's garage and living space and workshops are different. But hopefully this gave you some just good ideas or new ideas on how to, you know, more efficiently design your workshop, or things you hadn't thought about, or just where to get racks to put your printers on. Something simple as that. I do have to say, before we cut out, thank you. Like, this would not have been possible without you guys, without the support, without social media and YouTube and sponsors and all of this, like, just coming together over the past couple years. This is a dream come true. This is a pipe dream that I have a workshop like this now. This is incredible. I can't thank you guys enough. So thank you for helping all of this come to life, and I'll never not be grateful for it. So yeah, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns about anything you saw in the video, please leave a comment down below. I will read all of them and I will respond to as many as possible. Like I said earlier, I will link everything I possibly can down below. The printers I'm using, the lights, the flooring, the toolbox, the shelving, everything I can find a link for, it will be linked down below. If you use the affiliate links, it helps support the channel, but you do not need to use them. You can go buy them anywhere, you know, that's totally fine. But that's enough rambling. This has been a awesome tour of my dream workshop as it stands now. There will be more to come in the future, obviously, but I just want to say thank you one last time. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and you have a good day.